All right, so robotic surgery, or specifically robotic assisted surgery, what is it? I talked in depth about robotic surgery, but some of you wonder what are the steps and how is it actually performed? And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how we perform a robotic assisted total knee replacement. Hi, welcome back. I'm Adam Rosen, orthopedic surgeon, and if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe so you get updates when videos like this come out. And if you enjoy this content, please click the thumbs up button so people like you can find videos like these. Last week, I talked in depth about robotic total knee replacements because a lot of people had questions and had sent me messages wanting more information. And I apologized at the beginning of that video because I knew it was going to be long-winded and I went into a lot of detail, which may be really useful or interesting to some of you and maybe too boring and overwhelming for others. But if you want my top 10 questions on what to ask your surgeon about robotic total knee replacements, if you're getting a knee replacement and thinking about robotic knee replacement, check out that video and you can go in the show notes and click to the end where you'll get my top 10 questions. Interestingly enough, there was just an article that came out this past month, and it was a survey that doctors gave to patients coming into the office that were potential candidates for knee replacements. And 30% of these patients that were surveyed thought that the robot worked independently to perform the surgery. So for the majority of robots on the market, we do what's called robotic assisted. So the robot assists the surgeon, but the surgeon still performs basically all of the procedure. Now, again, there are three big players in the market: MAKO, which is by Stryker, the Rosen, which is by Zimmer Biomet, and the VELYS, which is by DePuy. And they're all quite similar, but slightly different. So if we're going to do a robotic-assisted total knee replacement, what typically happens, just like when we do any knee replacement, is we look at the images. We look at the x-rays, and in the case of the MAKO robot, we get a CAT scan, and that information gets uploaded into the computer that we use for the robot during the surgery. So now, during surgery, what happens first is, first things first is we will place trackers in the femur and in the tibia. So in the thigh bone and in the shin bone. And these get anchored with pins. Some surgeons will make a couple small stab incisions in the mid-thigh and the mid-shin bone. Other surgeons will make the skin incision for the knee replacement, open up the knee joint, and place these pins for these trackers inside the incision. And at that point, you can then reference the hip center of rotation, and we use basically a little pencil that allows us to mark or map certain landmarks on the leg and map out the cartilage. And this all gets uploaded into the system and gets put together with the information that the computer got from the x-rays and from the CAT scan. And we're able to really dial in exactly where we want the implants to go. So we can size the implants and pick the appropriate size. And we can take the thigh bone part, for instance, and we can flex it and extend it and turn it and rotate it to match the patient's anatomy as best as possible. And if you watched my other video, this is where it gets complicated because some surgeons do the old-fashioned mechanical alignment, some do kinematic alignment, some do anatomic alignment. So there is a philosophy that each surgeon has as to what they are aiming for, and that's where they can pick and choose where the thigh bone part gets placed. And the same thing on the shin bone part. We can size the shin bone, and then you can use on the computer the shin bone that you've chosen, and you can rotate it and bend it and maneuver it. So we can bend it side to side, what we call varus or valgus. We can flex it back and forth, which affects what we call the posterior slope. And we can pivot it and rotate it on top of the shin bone to get the appropriate size. And once we have that, that basically is the plan for the operation. We also then can take the knee through the range of motion, and the computer and the robot allow us to check what the range of motion is. Is there full range of motion or is it restricted? What is the alignment of the leg? Is it knock-kneed or bow-legged? And what is the balancing or instability and gapping of the joint on the inside and outside? Once we have all that information and we've inputted the plan, we can then begin to make bone cuts. So typically the first bone cut is on the end of the thigh bone. This is called the distal femoral cut. And we can use the robotic arm to set the saw, and the saw then is placed at the position on where we want that cut to be made. We have determined what the depth of the cut is going to be and what the angle of the cut is going to be as far as side to side, again what we call varus valgus, and back and front, what we call flexion or extension. Now, if we're doing a manual total knee replacement, we still have the ability to do all of those things. We put a rod in the femur and attached to the rod is a jig. And that jig allows us to determine how thick the cut one is going to be, 8 millimeters, 9 millimeters, 10 millimeters, for instance. And we can also change the angle, 4 degrees, 5 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees of valgus, and that matches the patient's anatomy. Now, the next set of cuts is typically done in a manual knee with what's called a 4-in-1 cutting guide, because we basically make 4 cuts. And what we're doing with the robot, again, is we've already determined where we want the thigh bone component to sit, and therefore the angle and the position of those cuts has been determined. So we use the saw and we can make a cut across the front of the thigh bone and the back of the thigh bone in 2 angled cuts. We call these chamfer cuts. And if we're doing a manual knee, we still have the ability to do that. What we do in those cases is we measure the height of the back of the thigh bone, what's called the posterior condyles. And then we can determine the rotation of this 4-in-1 cutting block and the anterior posterior position of the 4-in-1 cutting block. And then we can place that on the end of the thigh bone. And again, through that jig, we make a front cut, a back cut, and the angled cuts, the chamfer cuts. Next, we move on to the shin bone. And again, with the robot, we have predetermined the angle, varus valgus, and the slope of the cut and the position front to back, what we call anterior posterior. And the saw then allows us to make that cut. The next thing we would do if we were doing a manual knee is we can put a rod inside the thigh bone called intramedullary, or use a rod that is lined up with the shin bone on the outside called extramedullary. And again, we have the ability to measure the depth of the cut, and we can dial in the side-to-side position, varus valgus, and dial in the slope, and then make the cut through the cutting block. So at this point, all the bone cuts have been made, and there's a couple extra steps that we do to prepare the bone to accept the implants. We drill little holes in the thigh bone for the pegs and prepare the keel for the shin bone. And then those trial implants that are just like the real thing, get placed with a plastic insert. And in the robotic knee, we can then now take the knee again through the range of motion and make sure that we have full extension and full flexion. So full straightening, full bending. We can check the alignment, the bow-leggedness or knock-kneedness, and make sure the leg is as straight, or what the goal for the straightening of the knee was. And we can also measure the tension in the ligaments by measuring the gaps on the inside and outside of the knee through that range of motion. Now, in a manual knee, we will put the plastic insert in, and we will manually, in our hands, bend and straighten the knee, check the alignment, check the stability of the ligaments by testing it side to side and back to front. And in both cases, we have the ability to go up or down in the plastic size. So we can add a millimeter at a time or subtract a millimeter at a time with different plastic inserts to test the stability and the range of motion of the knee. And occasionally, if needed, we might need to release a tight ligament. In either case, once the bone has been prepared, we can then press fit the implants, meaning we would wash and clean the bone, and the implants have a reference coating, and they get basically hammered into the thigh bone and the shin bone. Or we can do what's called a cemented total knee, where again, we clean and dry the bone, and we apply a bone cement and put the implants into the bone cement. Lastly, we put the plastic insert in, and then check the range of motion again and the stability again to make sure everything's good. And then at that point, close the knee up. You're removing trackers from the thigh bone and the shin bone in the robotic knee. And then just like your normal manual knee, closing what's called the capsule or the arthrotomy, and then closing the skin, putting on the dressings, and getting the patient off to the recovery room. Now, what we don't really have control of in the operating room, whether or not you're doing a manual or robotic knee, is what you as the patient are going to do with physical therapy. Because your participation in physical therapy has a big bearing on how well your knee replacement is going to work. Because you need to get range of motion and strength back to make the leg and make the knee work well. The other thing that you and I, as the surgeon, do not have control over is biology. In certain instances, you can do a knee, manual or robotic, and it is perfect at the time of surgery, but your body, for one reason or another, lays down more scar tissue than normal, and the knee can become tight and the knee can become stiff, and we have no way of predicting that. Other times, the knee can loosen up. Sometimes ligaments stretch and relax, and now the knee is loose. So there are always times where, even at the time of surgery, if things went as well as planned, the outcome can be impacted by, again, how much participation you do with physical therapy and what happens biologically to the skin and tissue around your knee. So again, I hope that answers the questions that some of you had regarding, well, okay, how is robotic surgery done? We don't just step back and let the robot do the operation. We are part of the operation, but the robot is used to plan the procedure, and the arm, which is attached to the saw, helps us make these cuts without the additional blocks that are used for a manual knee. And then once again, at the end of surgery, we can then make sure that our plan was executed well, and the outcome is what we want it to be. Now, again, you heard me talk about it on the other thing. Robots do not guarantee a perfect outcome or a pain-free knee. We do not know exactly, should we use the old-fashioned sort of mechanical style alignment or kinematic alignment or anatomic alignment to set your knee in its appropriate position, and how tight or loose are we supposed to leave your knee? We still do not know. In the future, what I would love to see is all of the data captured before we do anything. And then we need to look at your patient-reported outcomes, how you did at 3 months and 1 year, and how satisfied you are. And then look at the post-operative information and start to determine what to do in a particular situation. I play chess. I'm actually a really bad chess player, but I play chess. And if you have, what you know is there are what's called chess engines. And what chess engines are is a big thinking computer that has looked at every chess game of all time, and it basically knows the outcome. So if you move any piece on the chessboard, the chess engine can tell you what the next move can be, how many times it's been played, and what the chances of winning or losing that game is. And that's where I believe these robots can be extremely helpful in the future. Because just imagine if we knew what your alignment was and what your balancing was before we did anything, and I set a plan of the angles and the cuts and the balancing that I was aiming for, but the computer would tell me that instead of doing 3 degrees, all of the information in the computer shows that 2 degrees is better. And instead of this much tension, that tension is too tight based on outcomes that it has in its database, and leaving it a little bit looser led to better patient-reported outcomes, better satisfaction, a better knee, a better successful outcome. And that's where I hope the future of these robots is being held, is collecting all of that data to not allow the surgeon simply to make the decision on what they think is the best for their patient, but using tens or hundreds of thousands of patients and all of those doctors and looking at all of the outcomes so that every surgeon using this technology has the ability from all of the previous surgeries to be able to pick what we believe is going to result and the best total knee and the most successful total knee replacement for you at the time of surgery. So again, a whole lot of information. Robotic total knee replacements is an incredible field, and there's lots of information, and every day we are still learning how to do it better. But this hopefully will give you the information as to what we do at the time of surgery. So until next time, I'm Adam Rosen. Stay safe.